Welcome back to ELS Gaming, and today we're going to be doing a realistic rebuild on Borussia Dortmund. This season has been very interesting for them. After making it all the way to the finals of the UCL last year against Real Madrid, they've had not the season they were hoping for in the Bundesliga. As of right now, they have clawed back up into 5th place and are looking for Champions League football, but they have for the most part struggled this season. So I said, why not take over for a little bit of a realistic rebuild? And our goal for this challenge is to win a domestic double, winning the Bundesliga and the Champions League. So first things first, in the league, we are sitting in 5th place with only 2 matches left in the season. I believe at the time of recording, they have already played that game and have won it. But in this, we are 2 matches out. We are only a single point away from Freiburg, who is in the Champions League spot. Our goal for those last 2 games is to qualify for Champions League. But in those 2 matches, we have huge competition in Bayer Leverkusen, but the final match is against Kiel, so that should be an easier opponent, but we need a win against Bayer Leverkusen. But before we get into the last 2 matches of the season, this is what our team looks like. I am going to stick with the 3-4-2-1 formation as they've been doing pretty well recently with it, and I think it's a nice formation to use. But now it's time to see how we do against Leverkusen. Unfortunately, we didn't get off to a great start, as in the 30th minute, Florian Wirtz put Leverkusen up 1-0. And not too long after, Wirtz put another away on us, putting us down 2-0. And in the second half, it wasn't much better. Florian Wirtz put his 3rd away for his hat trick, but shortly afterwards, Guirassy finally got us on the score sheet, making it 3-1. But it wasn't much help as Wirtz put away his 4th of the game, putting the nail in the coffin. We did manage to put another away, but it was way too late, and the final result was a 4-2 loss. Not a great start for that first game. That loss has actually put us down in 6th place with only 1 match to go, now behind Leipzig and Freiburg. And because of that loss, we no longer have a chance at Champions League football, which is rather unfortunate and might cause a couple of more names to want to leave in the next window. So I'm just going to simulate this last game, and it ended as a 2-0 victory, which is alright. So at the end of the season, we ended up finishing in 5th place, a disappointing start to this rebuild. Alright, before we go on to the next season, there's a couple of loans I need to address. In real life, Kuto is joining Borussia Dortmund for 25 million, so I'm going to recreate that transfer. And we were able to make that transfer happen exactly for 25 million. Both of our other players on loan have been linked to joining permanently. I'm more leaning towards Svensson, but both of them we're going to have to wait till next season to sign as we're out of money for the rest of the season. So let's get into the start of our first full season. In real life, a couple players have been linked with a move away from the club, including Haller, Giovanni Reina, and the one I'm most disappointed about the most is Jamie Guytons has showed extreme interest in a move away from the club, so all of them have been transfer listed, and I have hopes to sell them all this transfer window. Taking a look at some of these contracts, a lot of them are going to stay. Nicolas Soule in real life says he wants to stay, so we're going to give him a new contract, as well as Julian Brandt. He has been linked to signing a new contract next year, so we're also going to sign him, as well as a bunch of these younger players. The only players that are debatable right now of not signing a new contract are Emre Can and Pascal Grog, mostly due to age concerns. But looking ahead at our budget, we have 96 million to work with, which is a very healthy amount. We should be able to make plenty of transfers. Our first transfer of the window is actually going to be Job Bellingham. Dortmund are looking to recreate the success they had with his brother, signing him from Birmingham, but we're going to be signing Job from Sunderland for a solid deal of around 14 million. Our next addition into the team was someone that we had last year. We're making the loan permanent of Daniel Svensson. He's going to be joining us permanently for 9.5 million. Next up is our first departure out of the club. Sebastian Haller is going to be headed to Feyenoord for 15 million. That was followed by a major addition into the team. We have hit up Lyon's line and we have gone in and purchased Ryan Cherki from Lyon for 64.6 million. Heavily linked to the club in real life, a great signing. Next up was the unfortunate departure of a good young talent, Jamie Guytons. He's going to be headed to Wolves for 33 million. Ouskan is also out of the club. He's headed to Monaco for 5.7 million. And Giovanni Reina is headed to Everton for 9.8 million. We are also loaning out Duranville for the next 2 years to Hoffenheim. Those departures allowed us to bring in our next two signings, the Japanese Ritsu Dohan from Freiburg, as well as the Danish wonder kid Victor Froholt. Alright, so here is a little update on the current squad. All of our signings have been linked to Dortmund in real life, and I think they're pretty good signings. Most of them are young talents. I think I also want to make a couple of loans out of the club, as in maybe even Froholt, who we just got, but a lot of these young players like Koulibaly, as well as, where'd he go? Mukoko, I think could use another loan spell. But I think the team looks really good. In the future, I do want to drop Nemeka down to center back, as he is 6'4" and has played center back in the past. But for right now, this is what the team looks like as a little bit of an update. So we've reached the end of the transfer window on deadline day. The only business we did for the rest of the window was a couple players out on loan. 6 in total are out right now. But this is how the team's going to look this season. Let's see how we do. Quick timeout. We're in the Champions League. I'm not sure how we are though, because Leverkusen, Frankfurt, and Freiburg are all in it with us, and Bayern. So we are the 5th Bundesliga team. So I'm not sure how we qualified, but we are in the UCL for this season. I mean, that's a great thing. I wasn't expecting this, but that's great. Let's get to January. On January 1st, we were sat in 5th place in the Bundesliga in a very tight race for the front. We were only 4 points behind first place Wolfsburg, and the door was wide open as Bayern Munich were down in 7th. The only real thing that happened in January was we extended some contracts of a couple players. We gave Emre Can a new deal, as well as Nico Schlotterbeck and also Adeyemi all new contracts to stay at the club. By the end of the transfer window, we were actually sitting in 1st place in the Bundesliga, as well as in the Champions League. We were in 10th place at the end of our 8 matches, meaning we had to go into a playoff round. And in that playoff round, we played Sporting, where in the first leg we won 3-1, and in the second leg it was a 2-1 loss, but we still managed to go through 4-3 on aggregate. But in the round of 16, we played Barcelona, where in the first leg we lost 2-1, and the second leg we lost 1-0, meaning we were eliminated from the Champions League in the round of 16. So jumping forward to the end of the season, we ended up finishing in 3rd place on 71 points, securing Champions League football for next season, and our main man Ryan Cherki scored 41 goal contributions in the season. He did so well, in fact, that he actually earned the Bundesliga Player of the Year. So overall, not a bad season. Let's move on to the next one. Season 2, this is what the team looks like. I'm really liking it. Cherki is a bona fide star at an 86 overall. We definitely have some moves to make. This left-hand side, Svensson is the best left mid we had. I do want to upgrade there, as well as I have like at least 7 good center backs on the roster. We need to thin that out. Dortmund love to find Bundesliga talents for them to sign, so I'm mainly going to focus on that. But they do also like to branch out a little bit for some more exotic, I'll say, transfers, like maybe Holland from the Austrian league or Hakimi from the Swiss league, players like that. So that's mainly what we're going to focus on. And we have our first transfer out of the club. Ben Sabani is headed to Bayern Munich for around 23 million. And next is another departure. Julian Reinerson is headed to Leipzig for 19.5 million. We also have some loan transfers happening. Victor Froholt is headed to Freiburg for 2 years. And Kiel Watjen is headed to Cremonese for 12 months, and Tyler Messer is headed out on loan for 2 years. But as Dortmund are known for generating great talents, they're also known for selling them on for huge money. As you can see, PSG have activated Nico Schlotterbeck's release clause of 120 million, and we're just going to have to let that go through. And there it is, one of our star players, Nico Schlotterbeck, heading out the door. He had to be transferred because, you know, realism. He is of course headed to PSG for 120 million. I was not really planning on losing him, but after those initial departures, we now have a whopping 256 million to work with, and we need to start filling the squad out with new young talent. But first, another departure out of the club. Emre Can is headed to Bournemouth for around 30 million, as well as Cole Campbell for a 2-year loan, and another loan, Koulibaly, for another 2 years. And we finally have made our first signing of the season. This man has been linked to numerous clubs in real life, but in this save, he didn't actually go anywhere, so he seemed like the perfect option for us. Angelo Stiller is going to be joining us from Stuttgart. We picked him up for 48 million. Our next signing is a Greece wonder kid linked with Dortmund in real life. We were able to sign him from Olympiakos, Kostolas, for 14 million. Next up, we have a new center back. We got the young Austrian from fellow Bundesliga side Union Berlin. We got Leopold Kierfield for 28.7 million. And next up, we have another center back signing. We need to fill out that position. I did plan on selling at least a couple center backs, but the loss of Schlotterbeck is really going to impact this team. So we have signed a Greece center back from Wolfsburg. Konstantinos Kolierkis is joining us for 35 million. We have also signed another center midfielder from Frankfurt. Oscar Højlund is joining us for 12.5 million. As well as Bence Dardai joining us also from Wolfsburg for 12 million. Alright, a quick update on the team. This is what it looks like. I've made every transfer that I wanted to before the Schlotterbeck departure. Though I signed everyone I had planned, so I'm not really sure what to do. We still have a budget of 119 million, and I'm not sure if I'm going to spend the rest of it, let alone any of it. I'm still going to have to look. There's still plenty of time in the transfer window, so let's continue on. Next up, we have a loan move. He's headed off to Benfica for 2 years. And as we were getting through the window, I have just received a massive offer from Bayer Leverkusen. And since this is a realistic rebuild, I have to accept this. In a normal situation, I wouldn't be, but Borussia Dortmund is not going to turn down that sort of money. I am going to negotiate to try and get a little more, but we're going to have to accept that offer. And there it is officially. Guirassy is unfortunately leaving the club, obviously to Leverkusen for 123 million. And now, just like after Schlotterbeck, we have an absurd amount of money, 136 million, and I have no clue what I should do. I can either stick with Beer as the backup striker and start him in the starting 11, or I can go in for a new striker, but I have to kind of keep it realistic. I think I'm leaning towards bringing in a new striker because we only have one who's not here and not on loan. Despite these two could be good in the future, I think we need some more depth for the right now. Oh, it's getting worse. The issue is, I can definitely see this happening in real life. That's the issue. Bayern Munich have given us a huge offer for our best player at this point, Kobel. Oh, I don't know. He's gonna have to go. He's gonna have to go. It's very unfortunate. This is probably the most realistic transfer ever. So we're gonna have to negotiate. And there it is officially, our third star player out of the club. Kobel is of course headed to Bayern. We squeaked out 100 million for him. And as I was looking for a goalkeeper replacement, I noticed that Arsenal have both David Raya and Marco Carnesci. So in my mind, that leaves me to believe that David Raya would be able to leave the club and potentially join Dortmund. I don't think that's that ridiculous. But before we sign a new goalkeeper, we have a new striker. A very serviceable option, a Ukrainian we got from Roma. Artem Dovbyk is joining us for 56.2 million. Unfortunately, we missed out on David Raya. Real Madrid won the race for him. We're going to have to look elsewhere. We finally were able to bring in a new goalkeeper. It's a Ukrainian goalkeeper who's still at Benfica, so I thought he'd be a great signing and somewhat realistic as he is looking for a big move to a huge club. We are signing Trubin from Benfica for 51.1 million. Alright, another quick update to the team. I know there's been a lot of transfers this window, but that's just how it is sometimes. We now have Dovbyk and Trubin in the team. The only other changes I want to make, I do want to bring in at least 1 or 2 super young goalkeepers that I can loan out and try and develop, because I don't know if Trubin is the guy for the job, and maybe a left mid, I'm not so sure. But the team still looks good despite our loss of players. And we have another transfer. I swear I'm almost done. It is another goalkeeper. Pascal Lorietz is going to be joining us from the Swiss League for 11 million. As well as Thiago Pereira Cardozo is joining us for 6.5 million from Gladbach. And we were immediately able to loan out one of them. Cardozo is headed to Stuttgart for 2 years. And just like that, we have reached the end of the transfer window. This is what the official team looks like. I think we did well for having to lose our 3 best players. The squad actually, it looks okay. We've been able to fill it out with a lot of young talent and pretty realistic signings. They're all from the Bundesliga. I could definitely see Dortmund buying some of these players in real life. I think with some good growths, we could be in a great spot come next season. But there's only one way to find out. Let's continue on to January. Alright, we have made it to January 1st, and we are sitting in 3rd place, pretty good, only 2 points behind first place Leverkusen. I'm okay with that. Saying the amount of transfers we had to make and what team we have, 3rd place is not bad at all. The Bundesliga is definitely wide open, and we just need a good second half of the season, and we could definitely be in a shot to win the title this year. And yes, despite me still having over 200 million in the budget, I don't think I'm going to spend it. I'm trying to keep this realistic. We have a ton of players out on loan. I like the squad we have going on right now. I don't think we need to make any changes. But we did have a loan out of the club. Pascal Loretz is going for a 2-year loan. And we have made it to deadline day. Our only business was that loan. We have also made it to the end of the Champions League group stage, or I should say league phase. We finished in 11th, so that means we have to go through a playoff round. And in the playoff round, we are playing Slavia Praha, and in the first leg, it is a 1-0 loss. Very unexpected. That's not good. Second leg here against Praha, we need a win here. It's a 2-2 draw. We are unexpectedly out of the Champions League in the playoff round. That's really disappointing. So at the end of the season, we ended up coming in 3rd place, only 5 points away from Leverkusen in first. Yeah, we only had 2 losses all season. We need to cut back on those draws, but we did actually manage to get some silverware this season. We did manage to win the DFB Pokal 2-0 over Gladbach as our first trophy of the rebuild. Season 3, this is how the team looks. It looks fantastic. Cherki is a superstar at this point. I think we only need a couple moves to push us over the edge at this point. I think the center back role, we need something to happen here because the Grease man not growing as much as I thought. Kierfield looks great. He might be able to develop and be that guy. but there are a couple moves I want to make. Sule and Sabitzer are getting really old. Sabitzer's 33 and Sule's 31. I think they need to be moved on from, and we're going to continue to keep bringing in talent, but I like where our team is at. And we are starting off with a budget of 91 million. So even though we had 200 million last year, the board just took it all. So we only have 91 million, but that should be plenty to make at least a couple signings. And we have our first departure of the window. Sabitzer is getting on in age, so we have decided to let him go. He's headed to Tottenham Hotspurs for 28.8 million. Which leads us to our next departure of the window. Sule is also getting on in age, so it was his time to go. He's going to be headed to Barcelona for 23.7 million. And after those two departures, we are up to 140 million. Those are the only two players that I am planning on selling. But if we get a huge offer for one of our players, we're going to have to accept that. But that's all the departures I want to make. But I need to bring in some new talent. And we have our first signing into the club. We've headed to the Eredivisie for that first signing. We are picking up a young Dutch center midfielder, Antony Milambo. Welcome to Dortmund, 34.5 million. And we have our second transfer into the club. This player we signed him from a Bundesliga side. He's not at a Bundesliga side in real life right now. We managed to get him from Wolfsburg. He is a French center back. His name is Pierre Kalulu. We got him from Wolfsburg for 52.5 million. Alright, so Kalulu is now in the starting 11 and Milambo is on the bench. The team looks pretty good. I want to keep Duranville on the left, but as you can see, he is clearly the worst player on this team. I might go in for a left midfielder. I'm not very sure, but I think I want to hold off on making any more transfers just in case someone comes in for a huge offer for one of my players. All right, we have reached deadline day and I still have a little money in the bank account. This is how the team looks like. I think with that remaining budget, I'm going to bring in a left mid because despite Duranville being a super great prospect, I think we can win it this year. And if not, Duranville will take over next year anyways. But I think I need to use that money on an established left mid for at least this season. And I have signed that left mid. It's the perfect transfer. A former Dortmund player himself, Rafael Guerreiro, is joining us from Brentford for 18 million. And that is going to wrap out the end of deadline day. So this is what our team is going to look like going into the season. I know Guerrero is only a 79, but as we all know, when he goes to a left mid, he's going to go up in rating. So I really think this team can do a great job in the Bundesliga. The only concern is this back line. If we get a little bit of growth out of Kalulu and Nemeka, I think we'll be fine. Anton is getting on in age though, but I think this team can have a real shot at some trophies. Guess we're just going to have to find out. Let's go to January. So unfortunately, the rest of the season, my microphone was not plugged in, so it sounds like this. Fast forwarding to early January, So I'm going to be voiceovering the rest of this. When January hit, we were atop of the table, 39 points, 12 points ahead of second place. We were absolutely cruising. And despite us having a little bit of money, we ended up not spending it and just letting January roll through. Looking at the Champions League phase, we finished in 8th place, which means we didn't have to go through the playoffs and went straight into the round of 16. And in the round of 16, we played PSG, and in the first leg, it was a 1-1 draw to start us off. And in the second leg, we won 2-1 in extra time thanks to a 115th minute goal by Dovbik, putting us through to the quarterfinals. And in the quarterfinals, we played Newcastle United, where in the first leg, it was unfortunately a 2-1 loss. But luckily, in the second leg, it was a 2-1 victory, and we won in penalties, sending us through into the semifinals. And in the semifinals, we were up against our hardest opponent yet, Bayern Munich. But in the first leg, it was a 2-1 victory. And in the second leg, we absolutely rolled over them with a 3-0 victory, meaning we were through into the UCL final. And in the final, we played a very interesting opponent, RB Leipzig of all teams. But before we get into the final, having a look at the Bundesliga, we did end up winning the Bundesliga title, meaning that if we won the Champions League, we have secured our domestic double we were looking for. We ended up winning on 76 points, 3 points ahead of second place Frankfurt. You'll love to see it. So this is how the team looked like going into the UCL final. It just looks incredible. Look how smug they look. But without further ado, let's get into the UCL final. Yeah, I'm still voiceovering. My mic was still messed up. But anyways, Adeyemi was sent through on goal very early on into the game, and he finished his shot to put us up 1-0 very early on. And shortly after, Bayern were on the attack. Diakite was sent through on goal, but luckily Trubin was there to make the save. And Bayern were keeping up the pressure. Trubin had to make another couple of good saves to keep it 1-0. But finally, we had some chances of our own. Dovbyk inside the box, his shot hit the post, keeping it 1-0. But going the other way, after Trubin made an amazing save, only 5 minutes later, Boniface was found in the box and leveling up the game 1-1 right before halftime. So as the halftime whistle blew, we were sat 1-1 against RB Leipzig in the final. And we did not have a great start to the second half. Diakite somehow hit the crossbar and the rebound was luckily scooped up by Trubin, barely missing out on going down. But luckily, after a very well worked goal, Kuto's strike hit both posts but still managed to go in, meaning we were up 2-1 against RB Leipzig. But Bayern Munich would not go away. Trubin had to make another save, as well as another shot hitting the crossbar, as well as another shot hitting the post, barely squeaking us by, still up 2-1. We ourselves had a couple more shots, but could not find the back of the net on either of our chances. But Bayern Munich just would not go away, as in the 83rd minute, substitute Noah Okafor found the back of the net, evening up the game 2-2. And after a very strange glitch where the goalkeeper wouldn't get the ball, the game ended 2-2, meaning we were going into extra time. And not even 2 minutes into extra time, a beautifully worked goal, Dovbyk finished off his shot, putting us up 3-2 in the 92nd minute. That was followed by even more saves by Trubin, another 3 saves to his tally. He was up to 12 saves on the entire match. But luckily, in the 118th minute, Adeyemi sweated it down to Duranville, who put it away, putting us up 4-2 in the final, putting the final nail in the coffin. So when the final whistle blew, Dortmund were Champions League winners, winning the Bundesliga and the Champions League in the same season. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'm sorry for the voiceover at the end. But if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe down below and tell me what other rebuilds or some suggestions that you want to see me do in the future. But thank you all so much for watching. Goodbye.